It is a great day because the man has arrived. Round the car guy. And look at your shirt matches your computer. How about that?
It does. I went with the Gur Animal computer.
That's good.
So I could match up the elephant to the elephant, and I'm color coordinated.
Oh, is that what it is? Elephant is red? Okay,
That's right.
I'm going to make a note of that. Okay.
That's brilliant. They need to do that for adults, especially men. That's a good idea.
They do.
I'm going to write that down. That's a $1 million idea
today
right there.
we're going to be talking about something that people need to pay attention to because every time Ron's here, you learn something. And we're going to start today with things that you should not ignore.
Exactly.
Like maybe us when you're here would be a good thing.
Only off camera.
Off camera. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
my numbers are definitely getting past the point of no return where I need an oil change. and I listen to you all the time, Ron, and I know, and I just look at that number and I'm like, oh, Ron would be so upset with me right now.
Double digits over the amount? Or?
Maybe.
Maybe. Lucky guess on your part.
Is there oil in the car?
There's oil in the car, but my motor is starting to give me that hum that, like, would you please change my oil?
It's ticking. It's making noises.
Cool.
So probably something I shouldn't ignore when it comes to my car.
We can help you with that.
Okay, good. Thank you, Ron.
So we're talking about things that people should not ignore when it comes to their car.
Exactly. And what I did is just from a couple of years of car guy experience, I put together the top 4 things that we actually see come through the shop. I mean, we had 2 cars towed in over the weekend, people that were traveling and got stranded. We had one late last week, and I look at that, and it kind of pains me a little bit because so much of this stuff is preventable, and yet people ignore it because we're in a hurry. We got other things going on, and cars will just go, and then they end up interrupted in their trip and staying in a hotel and maybe going to the Iowa State Fair or something fun. But exactly. But the number one thing that we see is the temperature gauge either reading higher than normal or small amounts of coolant leaking on the ground. AAA did a study a couple of years ago, and the number one breakdown on the road traveling is a cooling system failure.
Really?
Something in the cooling system fails, whether it be a belt or a water pump or a gasket or something. But if you see cars stranded off to the side of the road, they're not all out of gas. Most of them have cooling system failures, is what AAA found. And so, if you see a little bit of a coolant leak, whether it be red or green, because there's different colored coolants now, even blue. You see a little bit of a leak on the ground, or you smell a little bit of that burning coolant or hotness. Or the temperature gauge starts reading, higher than it has in the past. Don't ignore it because your car's trying to tell you something. It's, at that point it's got a cold. Don't wait until it has the flu.
Right.
So the cooling system would certainly be the number one. The other thing, and we run into this every week, a car will come in with a problem. And you'll, in our information gathering stage with the customer, we'll ask them, has the check engine light been on? Oh yeah, that's been on forever. Or the ABS light, or the airbag light, or name whatever light. But the warning lights on cars are extremely reliable these days. I mean, they don't come on for no particular reason. I mean, they might have years ago, but they're very, very reliable, and ignoring them is always going to result in additional damage and more money.
So fixing your check engine light with a piece of electrical tape is not a good idea.
Well, black electrical tape,
what I'm talking
that
about,
kind of blends in stuff, but
Okay. That's not a good idea.
No, it's definitely not a good idea because it's on for a reason. Something's failed. And it's not working properly. And one thing that we do see, especially in the state of Iowa, we don't have emissions testing, so it's not as big of a deal. But there are things that will turn your check engine light on that don't affect the performance of the car. And so sometimes advice will be, well, it's not a big deal, or it's emissions related. Don't worry about it. And I get that. I understand that. Who wants to spend $200 or $300 to turn a check engine light off when it doesn't affect how your car operates? Right. The problem is when the next component fails that will affect something expensive on your car, you don't know because the light's already on and you're ignoring it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And so that's where that comes into play. So you know, if you've got a friend or a brother-in-law or a repair shop or somebody that tells you, you know, to ignore the light, it's no big deal, or it's coming on for no reason, I wouldn't walk away from that person. I'd probably run away, because that's just really bad advice.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we got that. So check
Check it off.
Got it.
All right. Noises that intensify over time, like a ticking noise if you haven't changed your oil, would be an example.
Yeah. I keep meaning I have good intentions.
Or maybe if you're coming up to a stop sign, for example, and I'm just saying, I know a guy, and he puts the brakes on, and you hear grinding or in the back of the car coming from where the wheel area is. Chances are you have a brake problem.
Correct. And does that noise get louder the longer you wait?
I mean, he hasn't noticed it.
He hasn't noticed it?
No,
maybe he's from Altoona and he just doesn't notice stuff like that. That would be my guess.
Okay.
Yeah, probably.
That happens over there.
No, but
certainly not a West Des Moines or Waukee thing.
No, but seriously, that people really do need to pay attention to that, especially brakes.
Exactly. And we're getting into the time of year again now where it's 60-some degrees in the morning. You got the window down going to work. You're hearing that stuff. I mean,
good point.
In the wintertime and then in the summer when it's real hot, you've got the windows up, the air conditioner heater's on, you've got the tunes cranked like Jackie, you're rocking out on the way to work, and you don't hear that grinding noise or stuff. So now is a good time to pay attention when the windows are down. Is there any abnormal noise? Because almost always, if you've got a noise that's intensifying over time, it's usually something that has a bearing in it or has some kind of movement. And it's in the early stages, and if you wait until it totally fails, then it costs you a lot more money because other things break and
it's dangerous at times too.
Absolutely, it's dangerous, especially if it's brake related or a wheel. I mean, something that you want to keep on the car as you're driving it. So.
Okay.
So don't ignore those noises, especially the ones that get louder over a 2 or 3 week period. I mean, the radio knob for volume will only go up so high.
Justin Bieber, Jackie, can only cover up so much. Okay?
It's true. It's a lot. There's a lot of common sense involved. If it's flashing lights at you, if it's making noises, obviously, you want to pay attention. But exactly. I used to be guilty about that all the time. I used to crank my music and drive, and sometimes it's like, stop. Turn down the music, roll down the windows, just listen, because it will tell you if something's going on.
Well, and we get into a routine. I mean, we get busy. We get up at the same time in the morning. We're on our way to work. We're picking up kids. We're going to lunch. We're doing whatever. And I mean, who wants to try to fit car repair in there? I mean, that's just outside of your routine, and it's always well, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. I mean, I'm guilty of procrastinating things. And it's just really easy to do, but it's painful for me to see these cars come in. And it's like, how could this thing not have been making noise for the last 2 months?
Smoke.
Exactly.
It prevented a lot of extra expense.
Exactly. And then it is inconvenient, and it's just easily preventable if you just, like you said, a little bit of common sense and just pay attention and know that a car is not maintenance free.
We have one final one here.
We do. And that is adding fluids to what I call closed systems. And a closed system would be something that you really should never have to add fluid to. That would be like your power steering system. Your car doesn't consume power steering fluid, and therefore you shouldn't have to add. Now,
well, it does if there's a leak.
Well,
I used to have an issue with that. I'm like, why is it so hard to turn?
It's making that noise again. I need to put more fluid in.
It goes away.
Exactly, and that's why every convenience store in Des Moines has that little section in there that has power steering fluid, transmission fluid, brake fluid. Those are not consumables. You're not supposed to have to add. And it even kind of goes back to what we originally talked about, the coolant, the temperature deal. I mean, if you have to open up and add, a quart or 2 quarts of coolant, it went somewhere. And the coolant you're putting
Where did it go?
Exactly. It didn't shrink. The coolant that you're installing is going to go somewhere. And do you want to find out, at that point, or do you want to wait until 3 gallons just come spraying out and you've got all the steam and stuff? So
I had that happen once when I was in high school, and it was pretty cool.
We don't recommend it, though.
all the smoke and stuff.
Not recommended.
No.
So the non-consumption systems, of course, would be, your brake fluid, your power steering, your antifreeze, your transmission, your differential. Another thing on four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive vehicles that people rarely check on their own is the transfer case, the part that makes it four-wheel drive. I mean, hopefully when you're getting your oil changed, the place that changes it will check the fluid. But as we roll into winter time, I mean, we'll see a whole host of vehicles come in. The four-wheel drive doesn't work because the transfer case is trashed because it didn't have enough fluid in it because we didn't look at the leak on the ground and instead of a $200 seal replacement, now we need a $2,000 transfer case. So a lot of it can just be
common sense.
Exactly.
A really quick question, maybe this is a topic for another time. So I have a couple little dings in my windshield I should probably get fixed. I know that's one of those things, my car's telling me, hey, I'm dinged, you should get it fixed, and I should probably do it now, but I don't.
And we could fix that while we're changing your oil. But anyway, carry on.
When now that, summer's starting to cusp and come to a close, when is it really important to get that done so we don't go into winter and that little chip becomes a crack?
At any time, it's
today probably.
Well, here's the deal, Jackie. If we the sooner we fix that when it occurs, the less noticeable it will be because it doesn't have time to get dirt and contaminants into it. Now, we can fix it at any given time. It just might be more noticeable after the fix, but you want to fix it before it becomes a crack and starts working its way across the windshield because once that crack gets to a certain length, then structurally, it can't be fixed.
It's compromised.
Okay. Exactly.
So if your car's telling you something, do it now, don't wait.
If your windshield's got a bunch of dings in it or chips, and you're 16,000 miles overdue for an oil change, and the engine's ticking, and you've had this growling noise for 3 weeks.
How does he know my car so well?
Stop into West Side Auto.
There we go.
Located where, Ron?
We're in Clive, just off of Swanson Boulevard. You can just go to our website, westsideautopros.com, or you can also get a hold of me through askronthecarguy.com, where I'll answer your questions.
Now, you guys go to enough races. If you can't make it to see Ron, just run your cars through the pits.
There you go.
There we go.
There you go.
Thank you, sir. We'll see you
You're
next week,
welcome.
bud. It's 4 minutes before 7 o'clock. We'll be right back.